Alright, so starting another phase of this project. As you can see, I got this rubber mat that doesn't fit. I have no idea if it just doesn't fit or if it's because I do have a bed, plastic bed liner in here. Either way, I purchased this with deliberate intent of using it to cut out the sheet of plywood because I didn't want to. And now that it's here, it looks like I'm gonna have to cut this first to size and then use that as a template for. So what is going to happen, as you see, it's obviously wider and longer than it has to be by however long. So I'm gonna have to start chopping it on the sides and certainly lengthwise because it doesn't fit this way. And they said to leave it in the sun, which is what I intend to do. As you see, it's a little bit too long, but I'm not worried about that. So my goal, even if I have to cut it, is to basically put it on top of a sheet of plywood here. Now, there's ways and means of messing about with a sheet of plywood. You could use like pieces of paper and then tape them together, and I was like, you know what, I'm not really gonna bother since I need to put something on top of plywood anyways. So the way that's going to work is have a sheet of plywood over here. And I was actually quite relieved because plywood have actually gone down in price. There it is. Which, in case you're wondering if you could fit a sheet of plywood into a Jeep Gladiator, the answer is no. Because unlike on a Toyota Tacoma, this whole thing doesn't fit a sheet of plywood in a way that it sits there. Plus, I have all that wiring over there. I'm actually gonna deal with that while dealing with everything else. This was designed for a specific purpose which no longer applies, so I'm gonna have to do some voodoo over there, but whatever. So to transport a sheet of plywood, you have to first slide it here, put it cockeyed, close the tailgate up here so that it sticks out like this, or like that, this way. Either way, my goal is to use this as a template to cut that piece of plywood to size, you know, with all of its like nooks and crannies, which is why this has to be this, by the way, has to be less than in dimensions than the bed. And reason being is because this over here has to slide out really comfortably, because if I have a sheet of plywood like sticking out that way, for example, it's going to create problems because I'm gonna have a heavy fridge up here mounted with the slide and everything like that, and I don't want to be removing the fridge, removing the slide, undoing all the things. Like, I want to be able to just walk up here and just do this number and then slide this whole sheet of plywood on, you know, method of transportation, or maybe like put anchors in it so that I could hang it, or whatever is the case. So it looks like I'm gonna be doing some chopper marooni, probably like that. And while I'm somewhat upset about the fact that it looks like I'm gonna have to hack this into pieces, but is what it is, right? So I had to coat the top of plywood with something anyways. And this is just going to be sitting on it. So, and everything that's going to go on the inside is going to be screwed into the sheet of plywood, so all of it comes out. I do very much use my truck as a truck. I constantly haul things. If you look at my I have like cinder block dust and soil and sand and everything else in there, so I'm one of those people that actually uses their truck as a truck. And if it doesn't fit here, I have a trailer for that. So either way, I'm gonna leave this out in the sun, probably on top of over there. In fact, that's probably the best place for it to be honest. I don't know if it's gonna be wide enough though for probably not, because I have a roof rack over there. So interesting, since I'm talking about this, I got the locks. You could kind of see them like there-ish and there-ish, right? So ran into a huge issue, not with this one, but the one on the other side. What happened was, this was locked, and obviously I had screws and bolts through the little hole over there that I talked about previously. And what I found is the lock on the other side wasn't actually locked. So to test this, all I did was just pull on this, and it just, boom, came off. Well, that's after removing the bolt. So the bolt is there to secure the lock. Now, this over here could still be opened, believe it or not. If you were to push this button right there, you could still undo this. So despite the fact that I have locks, it doesn't prevent it in the way that a bolt did. Yeah, but it makes it somewhat more difficult for it to do anything at all. I don't know how I feel about this whole thing. Maybe I'm gonna put bolts in it in the future, just to feel on the secure side. But right now, yeah. So this whole locking mechanism, I mean, clearly it has flaws in it. So in case you're wondering what's holding, there's a little, if you follow this metal piece right down there, right, there's like a little knobby thing right there. That's basically all that's holding this piece in being locked. And if you don't have your things aligned properly, it doesn't even want to lock in there, which enables this to anyways. But the probability, if you set everything up right, probability of it happening is fairly low. So good news, I got rings coming. They've landed in the ports, allegedly coming my way, so I'm gonna be installing them over here. And hopefully maybe this weekend, if I'm lucky, I'll put a fridge up here. And then, you know, I'll document that, obviously. Doing some trimming on the rubber mat. A lot of trimming, actually, surprisingly. So, as mentioned previously, it's quite possible that it's because I have this plastic insert in my truck, but at the same time, I kind of sort of doubt it a little bit. Whatever, you know what, I'm not even gonna bother. So what I've been doing is using this fancy Harbor Freight Tools knife to basically just keep hacking at it and taking off like little tiny strips, kind of like what you see here. My goal is to, oh, by the way, you could probably do this with, you know, shears like that as well. So my goal here was to cut this to size so that I could then cut the sheet of plywood. And while messing about with it, I was like, you know what? What if I put a piano hinge or something like right there and right there? What would the benefit of doing that is, because I'm gonna be placing my fridge here anyways, you know, because I can't like put it there, so this space is going to be wasted. And I'm like, if I put a hinge, I could flip it and then slide this whole thing out of there. So I do need to get me, I believe I have hinges available. I just need to engineer a plan So probably cut out a sheet of plywood and then just run a saw like there somewhere to, you know what I mean. But that's kind of it. So as mentioned previously, the goal behind this thing is to act as a template, but also to provide some level of protection, because otherwise, if you have a sheet of plywood, you then have to coat it with something, and you know, nowadays everything costs like $1 bazillion, so just might as well, know what I mean. So that is going to be on top of this, and then the slide is going to be about there-ish somewhere to like this. And then of course the fridge that's going on it. The fridge is ICECO 75 liter with dual zone things and whatever. So my goal is for time being at least install it this weekend, which is probably gonna finish early tomorrow, I think. Maybe like entire project tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And then I'm gonna have to do something about this. Now, for the longest time ever, this is like a passion project of mine, because when I initially installed this in the original Jeep decision-making process, I haven't used this since, or ever, really. Now, I very much appreciate having 12 volt running everywhere. What I do have regret about is just how messy that is over there. It has been an eyesore ever since I put this in, and I've learned to ignore it. The original intent is like this big red wire, which is this over here. There's a positive and a negative that's going to the terminals, and all of that is going from the battery. It's basically doing like running from the battery, kind of like this, through the frame, out behind there ish, and then coming into the bed of the truck. I don't know, it's already there and it works, but I never use it, so yeah. Anyways, that being said, I did receive the lights. The lights are supposed to be going so basically those are rock lights, and what I thought was, theoretically, if I mounted them like here or something, I could have side lights, and I could have you know, surprisingly, unlike Lear and Wrench, this one actually didn't come with any lights. Surprise. But in any event, oh, and also put lights up there. So what I'm thinking is, theoretically speaking, those funky bolts that I was talking about, which is this, theoretically speaking, that's actually an entryway to get to the ceiling, because it's a pass-through. So in theory, what I could do is I could run wires, which I've already ordered, up to the ceiling in this very fashion. And I already have terminals galore, so, and plus I have my switch over there inside the truck, but one thing at a time, right? So the wires are supposed to be here next week, and that's a project I'll deal with later on. But back to this whole circus. So as mentioned previously, I do use my pickup truck as a pickup truck like all the time. So it's very important to me to be able to just slide this out. So as I'm doing this, I will engineer this to be removed very quickly and very easily, without having to undo the fridge, undo the You know what I mean? Because I really don't want to be carrying that sucker. You know, like slide this out, put it on top of like my gorilla cart, and just wheel this off into a garage or something. If I need to remove it. So this means with the fridge being roughly about, yay, I will still have some space to haul other things, yada yada. I am a little bit upset about losing this space over here. If you followed me on my adventures to Utah and Colorado, you know that I have my canisters like this. My only other option really is to put the fridge in the back, but then to access the fridge you would have to, like, you know, this and stretch and reach, and it's just not practical even with my long arms. So maybe I need to relocate my water canisters to the back instead. I don't know, I'll have to play with it some and see what's the how to navigate all of this. Again, this is for putting gas and water into my RV. In my future trips, there's going to be far less requirement for fuel, and probably a lot more requirement for water. So it is very important for me to have, you know, this stuff over here all figured out. But the fridge itself is about, I believe, 4 feet long. So theoretically, right behind the fridge, there's going to be like a foot. And a foot means that I could put canisters this way. Sort of, kind of. You know what I mean? But I also have to distribute the weight properly, so we'll see. One step at a time. Alright, so to the backdrop of my neighbors running airboats, curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to at the very least do like a rough cut based on, you know, it's very disappointing because I do have sheets of plywood, but I didn't have a sheet of plywood long enough this way, and I wanted it to be one piece. So I ended up getting a piece of plywood that I then had to cut, but whatever. So this is the centerpiece, and then of course to either side there's going to be side pieces, kind of like there-ish, right? So the wheel well would be like there, and that's true for both of them. And all I've done is I've taken my trusty pencil and I've traced this, now that I cut it to size, on the plywood. Now I do expect tomorrow, as I'm fidgeting with it, I may have to do a couple of trims here and there to get it all figured out and situated. Probably more to do with these than with that, but you never know. So the tools that I used, obviously the pencil, a jigsaw, and this. So the theme of this channel seems to be Harbor Freight tools. I'm on first name basis with them. So I'm actually migrating from all the corded tools to all the cordless tools. I have no idea why it took me this long. I've suffered long and hard, historically speaking, having to run extension cords, and I don't use tools to the point where I need super duper powerful tools. In any event, so this is going to be a tomorrow morning / afternoon project. Between this and everything else, oh, obviously sawhorses, you gotta have those, or adopt whatever it is. Can never have too many sawhorses. Get 4. Okay, get because they come in like double packs, so get 2 packs so you have 4, because you never know how many times you need that extra pair of hands, and you could just slap an extra underneath of it, especially when cutting plywood. So this is going in the back of the truck, and then this is going on top of it. I don't know if I'll actually glue this, adhere it with Velcro, or in some way I'll deal with it tomorrow. Right now my goal is to just at the very least have done this rough cut and go inside and continue working on other things. A little bit further along, put piano hinges on this thing, as talked about, and I also had to cut out a little doohickey notch on either side in there, obviously because of those. And the reason why is because when you attempt to fold it, it just very much required so that you could lower this whole thing. And the reasoning behind is that you could tilt it and then slide the whole thing out. Alright, tailgate closes. You know, the carpet is obviously it's impossible to cut out plywood same exact dimensions to the carpet over there, but it is super duper close, which is more than enough for me. Tailgate closes, all of this. So to my surprise, the fridge itself isn't 4 feet, it's actually 3 feet, which is really cool, because this means I have actually 2 feet there instead of 1, which gives me an opportunity to put, you know, water canisters over there. So the problematic part of this build right now is going to concentrate on figuring out where to put the fridge. So I have no idea why it is, but like in all of the overlanding rigs, the way they build them, they put fridge here with a slide out and everything like that. And I really don't know if there's like a logistical thing behind it. They always have things over here which I don't intend to put, but I figure if you put it down center, you're gonna have things that you could put here. But on the same token, when you put it down center, you can't really put anything big enough. So my goal is to bring the slide here and kind of play with it a little bit. One thing that I found disappointing, and I'll share it in the next clip, is the hole size on the slide. It's really meant for bolts, which is why I think every hole is like a 1/4 inch. And as you might imagine, screws, which I'm gonna be using for this, are much smaller in diameter, so I may have to use washers, but we'll get there in a minute. After some cogitating on the issue, decided that the best place for the fridge is basically all over the place. So there's 3 possibilities where this could sit, either here, in the middle, or over there. And so what I decided to do was, using the holes that exist in there, it looks like I'm not going to be using screws because this is going to be removable. I'm going to drill some holes in places, and what that will do is it will allow me flexibility to basically mount this wherever it is that I want. I could have it in the middle, I could slide this off to the side. That's kind of how it's going to go. And then if I ever need to reposition, I just slide this whole thing out, rest it on something, and then fidget with the bolts. It's gonna be the same hardware, just migrating between the holes. We'll just leave it that. For time being, I'm gonna mount this on this side, just like everybody else's. I guess keeping up with tradition. And then this is going to give me plenty of space to put anything that I ever wanted to. But you know, like if I was in the overlanding mode, I think the most logical space is for the fridge to be in the center, so that I could have water containers in the back and fuel containers up here, easily accessible, if you know what I mean. It is getting quite toasty outside. I am already sunburned, believe it or not. It went from 32 to like 82 plus, but that's Florida for you. So yeah, gonna do some drilling. To open this, you just pull the lever, and it has like two locking things. One is like halfway, and then it goes all the way out, kind of like that. So the edge of the fridge is going to be here to be able to actually get inside. So the advantage of it, like imagine if there's a fridge here, you could very easily put things into it, right? And then you crank the lever and it slides right back in there. Boom. Using a couple of clamps and pre-drilling holes. Everything else, using a chisel with a hammer to clean out the holes, and basically clamping the carpet to drill the holes in the rubber mat over here. So I decided to drill bigger holes simply because I could slide the bolt in. Now this came off the second kit of the roof rack, which obviously I'm not installing, and I have a better need for my anchors now than I do in the future. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these and actually slide them in like so. And there's gonna be four, so it's gonna be the furthest ones and the middle ones over here, giving me space on this side to put things in. That's kind of sort of how it's going to be. I'm a little bit delirious standing out here in the sun, but my goal is to put the anchors in, put the slide back in, and at least very loosely tighten the nuts, and go inside and rest some, because being outside in the sun isn't all that conducive to making rational decisions. Nevertheless, here we are. Well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm still here tinkering with it, but this time I'm actually going inside. So I've more or less attached this. I actually like the way it looks. It just has like a smidge of not looking like it came off some backwoods construction design. It just has that decent tone to it. So the way that's going to work is boom, like this, and the fridge comes out. You could access it from whichever side, and that's basically it. So that goes in there like so. Boom. And then those holes are for the straps, and those are going in after I am well rested, and the fridge also obviously going in here. Alright, so today has been a particularly difficult day. Those of you that know me know that my car accident did a number on me, and I have my better days and I have my worst days. So today was one of the bad ones. in any event, so at least this is installed. As you see, this is ICECO 75 liter. So there's like a couple of feet behind it that way. And this project worked out decently. You know, put the rubber mat over there, put the fridge in, you know, strapped it. I am not particularly happy with the straps that came with this kit. It's like impossible to tighten them. I'm sure somebody invented something, so I may upgrade to that at one point. But so my concern was whether not adhering this sheet of plywood to the floor would have any kind of particular issue. And what I have found is that there's between the weight of this and the sheet of plywood that's over there, it's actually providing just the right level of support, so that even if you put weights to it, the entire thing doesn't just go kabloom. So that's kind of tomorrow I'm gonna see about the whole electrical situation. I have 2 batteries that came from ICECO for it, but I'll save that for tomorrow. And I'm not gonna do a review on the fridge. There's tons of those online. So, come on. Anyways, I'll figure out what's the deal with the whole lock-in mechanism over there. Hard to do it with one hand. But other than that, at least this portion of the thing is done. So we'll address the rest tomorrow. So, unrelated to the fridge, one thing that I've done is I got more of the anchors, which I've mounted over here. You can kind of see how the moonshade awning gets mounted to all of this. So that's all good. I'm gonna need to do something about this. So I got the parts to straighten this out, and it did, but there's no point in anchoring it there because it's not pulling it high enough. So in testing, I've actually connected it to this, and what I found was it left a little scratch over there. So my goal is to do something about that. I don't know what specifically. But I'm gonna have to engineer that. So there is going to be stuff happening up above and also on the inside related to the fridge, but I'm gonna leave that for another video clip. Alright, well, this is my engineered solution to the drooping shower thing. So what I've done is I've taken the same anchors plus a nut that came with something else. I forgot what it came with, but put it over here, and then put one of these lock-in carabiner things in here. Now this is going to change. As you see, like, you can't close this and it just looks wonky. I may do something about that. I don't know what yet. But and another thing that I've put was end caps up here so that it doesn't tear through fabric. So theoretically speaking, like this over here and that over there, when you put it, It just looks kind of weird. That's why I think what I need to do is maybe put like a doohickey over here, you know, like a ring or something. I don't know. Or maybe make a cotton fabric or something. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But the benefit is that, as you can see, it's actually, here I'm gonna remove this and that. The benefit is that it's a lot higher. Now it may not be super duper optimal, but it is substantially higher. And you could actually put weight up here in the things, right? All the pockets and whatever. Now I don't plan to ever really take showers in this unless absolutely necessary. This is more like a changing room, so. But anyways, process goes on. I still have 4 ring anchors left, so I may actually apply them to something in the future. But